Welcome to Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I'll be covering every studio song the band has recorded and every bonus track that I can find. Each week we'll go over a new song from the beginning to where they are currently, and as they keep adding albums, I'll keep adding shows. Let the deep dive party begin.
In the magic garden, some were singing, some were dancing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Uriah Heep, the Magician's Podcast. I am your host, Scott Haskin, bringing you a band-endorsed but fan-based podcast going over all the songs that Uriah Heep recorded in the studio, all the album tracks, rarities, bonus tracks, everything I can find, I will do an episode on, and I'm really excited to cover each and every one of them because I love this band. You know, in all the incarnations, I think they all have great stuff to offer. As we've heard throughout these, 16 seasons of the show, we're on season 16 now. There's just been something about every track, even if it wasn't a favorite track of mine, there's stuff I found about it that was pretty cool. So I really love doing this show, and I love digging into all this fantastic music. And you know what? I love this new box set that's coming out from BMG. Comes out September 24th, so it's getting here real soon, and it is called the Everyday Rocks. It is the first 7 albums Uriah Heep recorded on 7 picture discs. I love picture discs. I was a huge fan of those. Still am. The artwork, seeing that on a picture disc, there's really something kind of special about that for me. And these look just replicated beautifully. And there are 7 t-shirts, one representing each album and each picture disc that's going to be included in the package, as well as inspiring vocals and a wall calendar. It is such a cool thing. Grab your copy, folks, coming out very soon, September 24th. I don't know about you guys, but August just flew by. It feels like it was just the beginning of August a couple of weeks ago, and here we are, September now, and that is just crazy to me. I don't know where the month went. Granted, I've got a lot of projects going on. I've got a lot of things I'm doing, plus this podcast and my other show. But still, even so, there are times where it feels like the weeks or months just drag on. But man, these just absolutely flew by. So I'm hoping things start to slow down a little bit. Maybe with the weather. As the temperatures drop, hopefully the speed of the day will drop and we can just enjoy our time a little bit more and find more time to listen to great music like we're going to talk about today. We're covering the song Lost One Love today. That's just sad, but we're going to do it anyway. And of course, it's Monday. So before we get to that, I want to tell you there's also another box set that is coming out on September 24th. And this is called the Choices box set. And we'll be talking more about that next week. But for now, you can check it out on Uriah Heep's official website. Just go there and there will be pictures of both box sets that are available and some details, really cool stuff. So check both of those out. We'll be talking more about Choices next week as well. But there are some people that have helped make this show what it is, and I want to take a moment to thank all of them. First of all, the people that share the podcast with people, tell them about it, share episodes of the show on their socials, leave ratings and reviews is especially helpful. If you go on to your iTunes or Apple Podcasts, those are the places I'm most likely to see them. I may see them in other places, but probably not. If you are leaving comments on Podbean, I usually see those. But apart from that, most of that stuff doesn't get to me. So those are the places to go. If you have left any ratings, reviews, or anything like that anywhere else, please let me know. And let me know, if it was on a specific episode or just in general, so I can go check it out. And thank you very much. Now, that being said, I also want to thank the people that really go the extra mile and help make the show happen. And that is my list of people that are on the Patreon. Thank you guys so much. When I thought about doing the Patreon, I thought, nobody's going to sign up for that. But what the hell? I'll throw it out there. If anybody's interested in giving a couple bucks, that's awesome. I love that. And I have several people that have gone that route above and beyond. Thank you very much. And those people are at the $5 Easy Living tier. We have Kenny Wymore and Brad D. At the $5 The Wizard tier, we have Peter Voss, Goran Eriksson, Frank Teelgaard Mortensen, and William Rose. And then at the $1 Traveler in Time tier, the contest-winning Airtight Gravesite. That's right, Airtight, you won this month's contest. But that's not all. I did actually a dual draw because one of our previous winners decided that they didn't want to take the prize. They wanted to send it back in for somebody else to win. So they re-gifted their prize back to the show, which is pretty cool, I have to say. And that winner is Alexander. So I will be getting in touch with both of you guys. If I don't within the next couple of days, please feel free to write me at uriahheeppodcast@gmail.com. If you aren't in a place where you can write that down, you can just go to the website, scotthaskin.com, click on the Uriah Heep link, go all the way to the bottom, and the email address is right there. So thank you very much, all of you patrons. Congratulations, contest winners. Very cool stuff. It's really exciting to be able to give back. You know, that's one thing I really love about doing the show is I feel like Uriah Heep has given me so much over the years with their music. And, you know, when I've listened to them in interviews, just the kind of people that they are, getting to know Mick a little bit and just really seeing what a great guy he is. You know, Russell Gilbrook, same thing, just an amazing guy, so energetic and excited about music and playing drums. It really is just a great honor for me to be able to do something to give back to the band and help spread the word to people who might not be as familiar with their music. And then for those of you guys that are, just give you a different perspective, maybe point out some things that maybe you didn't notice before, or maybe you did, but didn't really think about too much. You know, so I think there's something in this show for everybody. And, you know, there are a couple other people I want to thank very quickly. My friends at Audionamics, I love you guys. You're amazing. I've missed you at NAMM the last year when there is no NAMM. I don't know if there will be this coming year or not. But in any case, you guys are awesome. You make a product called Instant Dialogue Cleaner. I will not do a podcast without this because it just shaves hours off of the effort, especially considering I live right next to the Vegas airport. So, you know, their product is amazing. They also make another product called Extract Stems, which is actually a music separator. It allows you to separate music into vocals, drums, bass, and other, which would then be like guitars, keyboards, that sort of thing. So it's great for helping to learn solos. It's great if you want to practice some remixing to separate out some things, all kinds of uses. You can use it to learn how songs were written, you know, just how things are layered, all kinds of possibilities here. And it's very reasonably priced. So go check those out at audionamics.com. The link, of course, is in the show notes. And then my buddy Scott Lazinski, who did a beautiful job on these logos. You know, we did these starting, we're coming up on a year ago that we started talking about it. And he gave me, I think, 5 or 6 different logos, and they were all just amazing. I had such a hard time picking. I know I picked the right one, but honestly, any of them would have worked very well because he's such a talented artist. Thank you, Scott, for doing that. You know, every time I look at them, I just smile. And I've known the guy forever. He's just another great guy, somebody that I'm just so happy to work with because I love him as a person, you know, and that really makes a big difference to me in the people that I work with. It's hard for me to work with people that I don't like. I've been forced to do it enough. I'm kind of at that point in life where I say, you know what, if this isn't worth it, then it's just not worth doing. And people that you really don't enjoy working with or downright find it impossible to work with, you know, those are the things where I just draw the line and go, you know what, maybe this project isn't worth it. So I'm very selective about what I work on with people nowadays. But in any case, Scott's a great guy, great artist. If you need logos or anything done, let me know and I can get you in contact with him. And of course, the social media director of Uriah Heep himself, Dave White, who gets up early, listens to the episode, puts them out on the socials. He's on Twitter and Facebook. He takes care of all of that. Plus, he handles the entire Uriah Heep website, which is has got to be a chore because there's so many pages on it, so much information. It's very well organized. Go and check that out at uriah-heep.com. Great work, Dave. Thank you so much. Before we get started into the song, a couple other thanks that I want to give my brothers at the ever-growing Deep Dive Podcast Network. For one, you can actually go to Twitter and put in the hashtag Deep Dive Podcast Network into your search box, and you should get all of us or most of us at this point. My buddies that got me started in this whole mess was John and Nate at the Deep Purple Podcast. And then at Skinner Reconsidered, we have The Simple Man over at T-Bone's Prime Cuts. On the other side, we have Terry T-Bone Mathley at Sabbath Bloody Podcast. We have Rye at the podcast In the Lap of the Pods. We have Paul, Joe, and David. And we have Andy and Matt over at Hawk Binge. We have Eric and Jonathan over at Maiden A to Z Pod. And a couple new brothers that we have just had recently join us, Daniel and Josh over at Diary of the Madmen, the Ultimate Aussie podcast. And then we have Ben and Sam at Universally Speaking, the Red Hot Chili Peppers podcast. Now, I don't know a lot about the Chili Peppers. I know the album Blood Sugar Sex Magic. That's probably all I really know from them. There might be another song or two that I don't realize is them, that's them. But, I'm a little more familiar with Chad Smith as a drummer, very talented guy. I think Flea is their bass player, I want to say. But anyway, looking forward to digging into these two new shows, as you should too. Everybody that we've brought into the Deep Dive Podcast Network has just been top-notch people and fantastic podcasts. Really good stuff to share with you guys. So welcome to Daniel and Josh and Ben and Sam. Really looking forward to checking out your podcast. And, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention my good friend Brandon at Metallicast, the Metallica-based fan podcast. Excellent stuff over there. He's been on the show before. And then, of course, GottaHear'Em.com. Go check that out. The live histories of Deep Purple, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, and all kinds of other cool tidbits. Allegra does an amazing job on that website, and she is super cool. So go check that out. And then, of course, last but not least, our band manager, we have Ace with his show Ace on Music, which you can find on Stitcher and YouTube. It's a fantastic show. Lots of great information and inside stuff about the music industry and how it works and things you just don't think about. I mean, I've been in this business for a long time, and every time I listen to his show, I'm like, I didn't know that. Or that's interesting. I wouldn't have thought of that. There's always great tidbits, and he's got a great voice too. He could have been a DJ if he wanted to. So that's all the thanks, and thanks to you guys for listening and checking out the show and sharing it. And especially for those reviews, please keep those coming in. If you have 30 seconds, go give the show a star rating or even better, a review. You don't have to say a lot of things. Just say, you like it, you don't like it, whatever. Just be honest. That's the most important thing. And thank you guys all very much. Now we're going to get into the show. Let's check out the song Lost One Love by Uriah Heep.
She's lost in the night. She's out of my sight. Gotta find her again. She's out of my life. Gotta find her again.
There's songs I've talked about that have a cool edge to them, just in the atmosphere, the way they feel. You feel like it's maybe late at night and there's a chill in the air and a little bit of fog or mist coming through. This song definitely has that feeling for me. I love it. It's definitely a nice mid 80s texture to the song, but there's just some edge to that audio that I really love. And I don't think I can define it any better than that. But there is just something really magical about the sound that we're hearing. And I love when Peter sings like this. He really does have a great sound when he's singing gently and not pushing power through everything he does. He's actually more versatile than I think we've seen a lot, because we've seen more his just high energy level through all of this. But when he dials it down and sings like this, he's just as amazing.
Will I ever see the daylight? Will I ever see the sun? Will I ever know the reason? Like a shadow she's gone. She's lost.
Yeah, the atmosphere is really amazing. I just love it. And those were some nice guitar effects there coming in. Some really nice synth work, too, that we're hearing from John Sinclair. A couple of different layers I can hear that sound really good. This is, for being something really simplistic, it's really more about just setting the mood right now and starting to unveil the story. But I just love the space that we're in right now. This is the kind of stuff that, I tend to gravitate towards personally. I like darker music sometimes. I like ambient stuff. I'm a huge fan of rock and roll. It's what I grew up on. Everything from the 60s on up, growing up in Motown, listening to a lot of those Motown bands and that. But rock and roll is definitely where it's at for me. But at the same time, like, I could really just dig into some great ambient stuff. And I really like the textures and the tones and the mood that's being created here. I love that. I love that. Just that gentle little build. You thought it was going to kick in, but instead they dropped back down. And just to even further enhance the point, you heard that downward pitch bend on the synth. Love that. It's just like, hey, we pumped you up, but no, we're not ready yet. We're going to bring you down just a little bit because you know it's going to kick in somewhere. But yeah, that was a really cool surprise.
How can I ever find her? She's just a shadow, missing person. I don't know where she's gone. One love, last seen somewhere. Walking away from the lights. One love, somewhere. Last seen walking into the night. She's
You know, I've said so many times in my life when it comes to art that a lot of times there's beauty in simplicity. And I think this is a perfect example of that. I mean, yes, there are some layers going on in this song, some multi-tracking going on, but the song itself is pretty simple and straightforward. And I think it's just beautiful the way it is. You know, there's definitely some guitar double tracking going on, especially in that chorus. You could hear it, but it sounds really good. I should say harmonizing, not double tracking to be straight. And then there's, I think, another rhythm track under that. But it sounds really good. It really adds an edge to the song, and just a little bit of that higher mid range cutting through, making the frequencies affected that way. But that's great. And then the bass is just nice and straightforward, which is something we don't hear a lot in this band. There's usually a lot going on bass wise, but this is more of a ballad type song, so they opted to just go a little more straightforward, at least up to this point. The drums, though, I'm gonna say that he's playing flams on the snare. It sounds like it. First of all, the snare sounds nice and big and super beefy, right? But it sounds like he's playing a flam. So I think I explained this once on the show what it was, but for those of you who don't remember or aren't drummers, or maybe you're just listening and hadn't heard that episode, a flam is basically where you hit both sticks on the drum, one slightly ahead of the other one. So it's not like a det roll. It's like but it's so fast that you don't really perceive it as two hits. It just sounds like almost like it's slightly doubled, but it's not. It's very close to each other, so you don't hear it as ba-ba. You know, it's just very quick, but it's a cool effect, and it definitely helps thicken up sound a little bit. And I think that's part of what's going on with the snare. I think they also threw a lot more bottom end EQ into it. He may even be using a different snare than he normally does. That's not uncommon for a drummer to switch out for different songs. But in any case, it sounds really good. It sounds nice and huge, and really makes the song sound much bigger, which I really like. And then as we get into the next section, I was just about to stop it, and I felt, I think Mick's about to go into a solo, and I was right. And I thought, you know what, I'm just going to let it play through, and we'll talk about the whole thing after. The kind of solo that you would do on a song like this is mostly emotional. You're playing into the mood of the song, maybe a little bit into the intensity of the story. But what Mick played here was, very much on that level. It was very emotional. Did have some really fast parts in it, which I like. They sounded great, really flawless. But it was more for me on the emotional side. And those are the kind of solos for a song like this I would expect. You can't really play too flashy and play over the song because that's just not going to work. But I think what he played here really, stayed within the boundaries and didn't get too crazy fast for too long. It's just little bursts here, which I thought were pretty cool. And just, they sounded so smooth. I don't know how many takes he usually does, probably just one or two, but that really sounded just Fantastic. And it blended really well with the song. So more great stuff from this band.
Will I ever see the daylight? Will I ever see the sun? Can I ever know the reason? Like a shadow missing person, I don't know where she's gone. One love, last seen.
Okay, I'm going to throw this out to you guys, and I'm going to say, let's do this on the Facebook group, because I think most people probably have Facebook. So under this episode, when you get to it, under Lost One Love, tell me what you guys think when it comes to this. So I'm not hearing but one hit here and there on the hi-hat. It could be that he's playing very softly during the rest of the time, except for when he's doing the flam, because you need both hands for that. But he also could be just playing very gently with the foot pedal just to mark the time. And those possibilities could just be very buried in the mix or within, my headphones and the way they sound, I'm not hearing it. So I'm curious if you guys are. The other thing is he's just not playing it at all. And then every once in a while, he just has like that one hit with a slightly open hat that kind of takes a second to decay, which is nice. It's a good accent. But I am hearing a tambourine as an accent, but I'm not hearing a hi-hat. So I'm curious if you guys are. If you are, let me know. If you're not, let me know. Go to the Facebook group, like I said, and let me know there under this episode. That's probably the best place to put the notes. And I'll be curious to see what you guys have to say. Now back to the song. Well, you can't contain a guy like Trevor Boulder for too long, and this song certainly proves that. He was playing very basic, very simple up in the beginning. Now he's doing some really cool dynamic stuff. Maybe even rewind that last section and listen for the bass, because there's some really good stuff going on in there. Love the backups. I love the way that they're, supporting the lead vocal, but kind of doing it in a more conversational way. That sounds really good. And, I can hear that higher harmony is back in there, which for this sounds good. It almost feels like a question and answer thing, but there's really not a direct conversation. But for some reason, it just feels like that to me, the setup of it and how it sounds musically more than what's actually going on dialogue wise. But it's very cool. And, the guitars are filling in really nicely, just keeping an interesting melody going on through it. So there's just these wonderful little accents going on and little tiny riffs here and there that sound just so good. And the keys are really strong here through this point. It's a good keyboard song, especially with the layers of sounds that we're hearing and the mood that they're creating, which is really quite different for the band. And I really like what I'm hearing. There's a really haunting phrase in there that really caught me this last time he said it, and I don't know the reason. That just sucks, doesn't it? When something's going on, especially when it comes to matters of the heart, right? And you don't know why something happened. You don't know what you could have done to prevent it, what you could do to fix it. And that is probably the most helpless feeling in a relationship And that sucks. So, this song actually is even more powerful than I thought it was, because that line is going to haunt me now. But it's a great song. I love the mood of it. I love the fact that they didn't, go crazy and get really fast during a part or something. I mean, they really kept it a fairly straightforward song with some interesting changes. I wouldn't have wanted anything different. As I look back, I wouldn't go, I really wish they would have switched something more or put another part in. I think it's fantastic as it is. I think the mood is great. This is definitely a song that I could just lay on the bed, stare out the window at the clouds, and just drift away listening to the song and love the mood of it at the same time. But the guitars are great. He's using a lot of whammy bar, it sounds like. And I have to wonder if, he had to change his strings after the song, because that's a lot, I would imagine. And you guys know I'm not a guitar player. I play a little bit of bass, but I'm not a guitar player. And I would imagine that that's really hard on the strings and maybe even the guitar itself. I don't know, but it sounds really good. It's just, everything is so clean and smooth. He's such a good player, Mick is. And it's just another great layer that adds to the song. It adds a little bit of intrigue, that riff. And I think that's pretty cool on top of the textures that we've already got. So very cool song. Another total winner for me. I hope you guys liked it as much as I did. I think it's a very, very strong entry from the band on this album. So thank you guys for joining me for another episode of the show. I hope you enjoyed the show as much as I did. I hope you enjoyed the song as much as I did, because that's even more important, right? Thank you guys. Please share the show, leave your ratings, reviews, whatever you like, especially on Apple Podcasts or iTunes. Those are probably the best places. And thank you guys all so much. We'll see you in the next episode for another show. Cheers. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Uriah Heep, the Magicians Podcast. If you have enjoyed this show, please consider going over to Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast outlet, leaving a rating or a review. Be sure to subscribe to make sure that you are notified when new episodes are available. Please be sure to share this podcast with your fellow Uriah Heep enthusiasts and anyone who you think would like Uriah Heep, which should be everyone. And if you are so inclined, please feel free to contribute to the Patreon account. And if you are not a Patreon subscriber, you can also pay through the PayPal link on the website listed in the show links below. I would also like to thank Uriah Heep for their very generous support of the show. And thank you guys for listening. We'll see you in the next episode. Happy days!